Hi, so I just want to get my thoughts down real quickly. I just finished the Five Nights at Freddy's movies. I did not go out to the theater. It's too rich for my blood, but I did get Peacock and I did watch it on there, so I was still able to see it. And if you're not a fan of the FNAF franchise or like even the earlier FNAF games, you're not gonna like this movie. This movie was not made for people to get into the franchise. That was not the intention of this movie. This was a love letter to the FNAF fandom, and honestly, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It had a lot of love put in, it had a lot of passion put in, a lot. There were so many little references that you would never have guessed would be in the movie. Like, at the beginning of the movie, I'm not, spoiler free, I'm not gonna say anything about spoilers, or try not to anyway. But yeah, I'm gonna try to keep it spoiler free. But yeah, towards the very beginning of the movie, when the movie first starts, you see, if you are a well-known FNAF fander and you know about the ups and downs of the franchise, and you know about certain things that Scott has made it clear that he's not particularly proud of in the franchise, there's references to even that kind of stuff. That kind of shows that this was not just meant to point out the highlights, it was meant to point out the whole franchise, and I think that's just a beautiful thing. It's definitely not, I don't want to say this is a kid's horror movie. Is it a little bit on the lighter side of like horror movie standards? Yeah, it's not like, it's definitely got more lighthearted moments, very cute moments, I would say. But I also would say I probably wouldn't bring your kids to this if parents are like, you know, that parents have younger kids, like I would say 10 and younger, who want to see this movie. I would wait. It does get very intense in some moments. I watched the first like hour or so with my sister, and there were certain moments where we were just like it gets very intense within the first hour. That's impressive. I was super happy because I know Scott made some comments, I think, from what my sister told me, I don't know, but she was telling me that Scott made some comments that kind of implied that he didn't know if he could get away with certain shit, which, it's true. That if he did say that, that was definitely something he had to keep in mind, and it shows in the movie. I'm not gonna say what. I will say there are a bit more like gory sections. It's implied gore, like how it is in the games, but it does show a little bit more than what we've seen from the games, which again I think is a great thing, because my biggest thing with the franchise was that it didn't go far enough, in my opinion. There were certain moments where I'm like, you could probably sneak it. I think the most gruesome thing in FNAF was Springtrap, because like, even aside from the still images where you saw like the skeletal remains of William Afton, you could still see like guts and viscera leaking through his suit from FNAF 3, and that's the furthest we've gotten in like the gore and kind of spooky shit, like legitimately scary stuff. And this movie kind of takes it a little bit further, which is good. Like I was saying, I'm a little tired, by the way, sorry, but like I was gonna say, that was my main critique with the fandom, because like with the franchise, because it's about murdered children being shoved inside suits so their bodies couldn't be found. Like, that in itself is kind of fucking horrific. And I feel like we kind of forget that that's a thing that happened. Like, kids died and they were shoved into suits, and other people were shoved into suits if the animatronics caught them. And it's just kind of interesting that they're finally kind of pointing out, like, yeah, you know what, this is kind of fucked up. And it it's just such a good movie. It's such a love letter to the FNAF fandom as a whole. And they were already talking about making a sequel. And honestly, before I saw that they were planning a sequel before I saw the movie, and I was like, okay, now hold on now. Let's just see how this one ends. And honestly, after watching it and, really like making sure, like fully watching it, I'm excited for the sequel. I'm super excited what they got planned in the sequel. I won't say what it is specifically, but it does kind of have a credit, like after credit scene. I won't say what it is. I'm just gonna say you might want to wait before you walk out of the theater, because there is a little Easter egg towards the end of the credits, and it's interesting what it kind of implies. But yeah, I'm so happy that the movie was good, because I was a fan of the game when the first one came out back in 2014. Like, I was in middle school. I was a young kid. I'm an adult now. I'm 20. And the movie finally came out. And it's good. It's not bad. Everyone was worried that this movie was going to be bad because of how long it took to make. It was in development hell. And it was so good. It delivered on so much, and I would say even more. Like, the most people were expecting was like a fun, campy, kind of bad movie. I don't want to say that it's bad. Objectively, in like Hollywood movie standards, yeah, it's not the best. There are pacing issues, there are tonal issues. It does kind of like get kind of confused at certain moments, but then it explains itself. Like, it's not really out of nowhere. It's kind of out of nowhere, but it's explained later. So it's still a little jarring, don't get me wrong. But yeah, just like with all the references, with all like the stuff they put in, the details, it's just a great movie, and I'm just super happy that we got the FNAF movie. We finally have it after so many hurdles and shit that we had to jump through. We did get it. And like I said, the fact that they have a sequel planned already, I'm excited to see what they do. Other little notes without spoilers. The acting was pretty good. The little girl, the main little girl, there are some moments where it's kind of awkward with her, but children actors, they can be kind of awkward. Josh Hutcherson, when I first found out that he was playing Mike Schmidt, I was so excited to see how he would fuck it up, because it's Josh Hutcherson. He was PETA from Hunger Games. Josh Hutcherson. I still cannot believe Josh Hutcherson was Mike Schmidt in the FNAF movie. And he did a great job. It was a good performance, and I was rooting for Mike every step of the way. I love Mike. Matthew Lillard, beautiful. That was a great performance. It was really good. It was a really good performance. There is the police officer, the female police officer. She was pretty fun. I kind of liked her. Yeah, she was alright. She wasn't my favorite, honestly, but she wasn't bad. They could have done her worse. And that's what I'll say for now, because spoilers. But I'm just... Since 2014, goddamn, this fucking franchise is just rolling. It's just rolling, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. I'm kind of nervous to see what the future holds, because this really feels like it feels like the end of a journey for me personally, and maybe that's because it's kind of like the end of my childhood is the thing we got. And if they do make another sequel, obviously I'll watch it, and if they do make another game or something, I'll probably not play it, but I'll watch reviews of it or other people playing it. But this was a long time in the making, and it feels like we finally got there, and I cannot get over how good it is. I wasn't expecting it to be that good, especially after all the memes that's gonna be like that was like, all right, Chica, you take the right, Bonnie, you take the left, Foxy, you come in from behind, me, I'll distract him up front, fast team on 3. Like, after seeing all those memes and knowing that like there were like preview showings and stuff, I thought it was good. There was a part of me that's like, obviously that's a joke, but then there was a part of me that's like, I could totally see them kind of pulling that shit or something similar to kind of stuff like that. I will say they don't. They are just memes. Funny memes. They're hilarious memes, but they don't do that. That's not a thing that happens. But yeah, it's a great movie. It's got a lot more of like the psychological horror element of it that was kind of like again, you kind of realize how fucked up the plot to the original Freddy's was, and it really comes through in this in a really good way. It's a great movie. Go watch it, especially if you're a FNAF fan. I don't need to tell you to go watch it if you're a FNAF fan. You've already watched it. If you're not a fan, I don't want to say it's not made for you, because that's kind of gatekeepy and I don't really like doing that, but keep in mind that the fans were really wanting this. And if you do like it and you're not really like into the fandom, that's great. Like, it's not, other people who are not in the group, in the know, like, they'll probably like it too. But it was made with fans in mind first. And then the general audience second, which is an interesting and bold move, but because it's such a massive fandom, like, they would have gone, like, even if all, like, the rest of, like, all the non-FNAF fans, even if they all were like, this movie sucks, there are so many actual fans is a gross word. There are so many fans who came there to see the movie that would pay off the box office. It's just, I'm just kind of glad that it's a good movie, especially after the whole video game movie genre is kind of, every time I think of video game movies, I just think back to the Assassin's Creed movie, and I just remember like being like, this is not how it is in the game, this is not how they do it, and there were certain moments that's like, well, that's different, but I kind of like it still. It's a good change, and there's lots of little stuff like that, but I just cannot get over that we have a FNAF movie, like an official one, that was made by Scott and had a budget, a really high budget, and it looked good, and the actors were good, and the story was good, and the soundtrack was amazing, by the way. Like, I won't say what songs played or like the music that played, but it's a great soundtrack. The characters are good, it's just good. The references are so, like, they're not shitty references or like kind of cheesy, corny, like, you're like, when you see it, it's not gonna be like, oh, of course they put that in, but it's gonna be like, holy shit, that's the thing. Like, there were so many moments where I'm like, holy shit, dude, they fucking have it, and it's just so fun. It's fun to kind of point out Easter eggs like that, but go watch it. It's a Peacock, theaters, whatever. Watch it. It's worth it, especially if you know and you're a fan of this kind of stuff. Yeah, that was my thoughts on the movie. I thought it was really good. Objectively, yeah, probably not. The fact that it's got, like, has a 27 in critic scores on Rotten Tomatoes, that's not great, but it does have like either an 87 or an 89% audience score. So that should kind of give you an idea of the people and the mindset around this. It's not made for Hollywood and critics. It's made for fans, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of what the Mario movie was. And the Sonic movie, kinda, not really. But the second one specifically had a lot more of like fan details and like actual Sonic game details that I thought was really fun. But that's not about Sonic. This is not about Sonic, it's about FNAF. It's good. Like I said, I just can't stop gushing over the fact that we got a FNAF movie and it's actually really good. I'm definitely gonna rewatch it. I'm gonna rewatch it a couple times. I'm contemplating rewatching it right now, immediately after all rewatching it, but yeah, that's the FNAF movie. It's good, and watch it. Night, everyone.